Welcome back, everyone. Tonight I have a very special toy review on a figure that just came out, just now showing up at doorsteps here in the US. And this is the first in a series of figures in what's called the Generation Selects toy line of Transformers Generation figures. When I say first, it's not the first one that was announced, but it's the first one that's actually been released to the public. The two before that being Red Swoop and Ricochet from the Power of the Primes toy line. So this toy was simultaneously revealed and released during the 2019 Toy Fair, just over this past weekend. They put the word out that it was a thing, and then orders opened up on Hasbro Pulse, which is the new incarnation of the old Hasbro Toy Shop website. Though it's been very much revamped and is a much better website functionally. They even allow pre-orders on toys that haven't come out yet, such as the entire Wave 4 of Transformer Siege and a whole bunch of future stuff for Studio Series. So that's really exciting. Definitely looking forward to utilizing that. But enough side talk. This toy itself is called Combat Megatron. It's a redeco of the Transformer Siege Voyager class Megatron toy. Well, actually retool of said toy. And it's designed in a way to look like an unreleased figure called Combat Hero Megatron from the Generation 2 toy line. So this was kind of a really out there, unexpected reveal for the Generation Selects line. It's not the first toy like it to be released. There was a Transformers Collectors Club exclusive toy, which was simultaneously an homage to Combat Hero Megatron and a hypothetical Pretender Megatron. I will be showing that toy off in the video here. Alright, but you all know the drill. We'll take a look at the box, check out the instructions, and then break down the toy itself, do some comparisons, give some final thoughts. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, now the box is very interesting. It's done up in a pretty plain mailer type box, which is very reminiscent of the type of boxes that the Transformers Collectors Club toys were sometimes shipped in. It's a bit more ornate though. Has this really nice print here, which is like a Autobot symbol that's graffitied on there. It's got the War for Cybertron trilogy logo here, and then it has Cybertronics written here, which actually apparently spell out the word war, which kind of makes sense, right? War for Cybertron logo here, and then that carries over the corner, and then there's just this kind of nice label here. And it's interesting because this toy seems to be dual branded, because here's where it says Generations Selects, which is the special subline that's part of. But the box also designates this as a War for Cybertron toy. Now I was very disappointed by the inside of this, because since it looks like an old club mailer box, I thought maybe the inside would have one of those nice foam inserts that you could put this back into, keep it nice and safe for storage. Unfortunately, no. It just has a regular plastic insert here, which I think is the exact same one that comes with the regular Voyager Megatron. They just stuffed it in a different box. So that's a shame. The inside of the box itself is really nice though. They went through the trouble of printing it. You got these cool little hexagons everywhere, and you got symbols for the different cities. So nice and ornate in there. Now the instructions really remind me of the Collectors Club because of how little effort was put into them. So aside from changing his designation, he's War for Cybertron Generation Select 01. So he's like a subline within a subline, I don't know. And they changed his name to Combat Megatron. Everything else is exactly the same as the original Voyager toy. All the same pictures and all that. Nothing new there. Same weapons. So, not a big deal. I mean, at least they got the name right and all that, right? Alright, here's Megatron's vehicle mode. It's an 8-shaped tank, just like the regular version. So, nothing crazy new to see here aside from the cool new colors. Combat Megatron's done up in an Arctic camo deco. So you can see it's a lot of this green camouflage striping going on, but he's also got a lot of this beige and this white going on here. And he's also got black accents. Not sure how well he would actually camouflage anything, but still cool. Very different looking. Definitely get a real 90s, like G.I. Joe type vibe from this thing. Got some red paint along the sides of his cannon, as well as on the inside there, so that's cool. And then here, this is really neat, you have the Generation 2 Decepticon symbol, just really cementing, you know, what this guy's supposed to be. And here you got MGTN, which is, you know, short for Megatron, 95. This is a neat touch. 95 is the year that the Combat Hero Megatron toy would have come out. So it's a branding very similar to the G2 Breakdown remake, where it says, you know, 94 on it. That's a year that G2 Breakdown would have come out. So it's neat. The toy does roll very well. It's got 4 wheels under the treads there. And the turret does rotate a full 360, which is nice. Might have some clearance issues, especially going around toward the back there, but it does rotate. It doesn't go up or down, really. But, you know, it works. It's good for what it is. Here's the regular Siege Megatron for comparison. Just so you can see the differences in, you know, the paint mask and everything, how the colors are laid out very differently. This guy, unfortunately, is lacking paint on his little headlights, which, you know, homage or not, that's just kind of a waste. It's a shame. This toy doesn't have the battle damage detailing like the Siege toys do. It's very clean. It's meant, you know, purely just to emulate an old prototype of a toy. Biggest differences in like the paint layout that I've spotted are the cannon here. Just the way it's painted is completely different between the two. So, which is good, right? Helps the toy feel more unique. Helps fight the sense that you're just buying the same thing twice. Right now we're going to transform this guy. First thing you do, you're going to pull the cannon out. So, just pops out of there, like so. Open this up a little bit. Fusion cannon. Move these out of the way. Okay, the legs, they're tabbed into the hip here, so you want to kind of pull them out. One thing I'm not crazy about is this tab is covered in white paint, so I imagine that'll start scratching off over time. So just be careful, you know, don't use excessive force when separating them. Alright, so you got them disconnected. Then these panels swing down like that. Alright, cool. Then from here, you're going to be rotating like 2 parts at once. Rotating this joint and this hinge here. Kind of one fluid motion like that. Right? And yeah, straighten that out. Bring your leg down. Let's do the same thing over here. Alright. Put the panels back in, like so. Flip his heels out. Make sure they click into place, otherwise it won't be flat. And then you actually want to like unclick his ankles from that stationary position so that you have your ankle tilt. Okay, now I'm gonna give him a 180 at the waist. Turn all that around. Alright, now you got Megatron playing peekaboo with you here. So what I'm gonna do is untab this. You're gonna kind of pull this whole assembly up, trying to scratch this paint over here. Swing his shoulders in, make sure they tab into his chest, like so. Now, this panel, you know, fold it back. Then these treads, you're gonna fold it in. Make sure this tab goes into the slot here on both of them. Alright, just like that. Pull this down all the way. Make sure his head's in there right. Alright. And then last things you do, flip out the fists. Bend the elbows a little bit if you want to. And then lastly, just swing those panels down to give him his iconic tabs on his shoulders there. Voila! This is Combat Megatron in his robot mode. I wasn't sure how I felt about this toy's, final deco from the pictures, but having it in hand, I can tell you it looks a lot better than I thought. There's a heavy use of like bright white and dark black on here, which doesn't make it photograph very well. So hopefully you guys can see this pretty well here. Look at his face. Actually got some really good molded detail there. His head is a completely new head. I see the other one. And very interestingly, it's designed after Megatron's original body in the first IDW Comics run when he was a miner. You can tell by the helmet shape. So that raises a lot of questions, and I'm going to go back to that momentarily. Here, you see it's got his name, Megatron, on the front, some lightning bolts, which is a callback to the original toy. Have that same branding there. You got his cool little, MGTN 95 with the Decepticon symbol on his arm there. It's almost like a tattoo. So very cool looking. His fists are painted this time around, which, while making me a little nervous because, paint scratches, actually has kind of a nice bonus effect of increasing the friction on their little like hinge here, which is good because the regular version of the toy, or at least my copy, these are pretty loose, so they tend to kind of flop around, especially when they're holding a weighted weapon. These are much more solid. These will stay in place and actually kind of click in, which is perfect. I don't know why my other one doesn't click in that well. Now, because this is essentially a siege toy, he is designed to be able to attach and utilize his weapons in a number of different ways. Since the instructions are just repeats of the regular Megatron's instructions, they only show you, their standard configurations for G1 Megatron. So you can go that route if you want to. Attach his fusion cannon there. Give him his sword, go old school with it. Go ahead, attach the two weapons if you want to make his super weapon. So as an option, if you're into ridiculous, overly large weapons. Or, if you want, you can try to emulate his weapon configuration from the actual Combat Hero toy. Now, it's not perfect, because Combat Hero Megatron had 3 cannons. He had one on each forearm, and then one over his right shoulder here. So this guy's only got 2 weapons, only so much you can do with it. So the 2 configurations I found that I think evoke it pretty well are giving him 2 forearm cannons. So, do something with these blades, fold them back in some way that you find aesthetically pleasing. And, just kind of let them go this way if you want to. Looks pretty decent. These are kind of distracting, but the cannons themselves look pretty good together. Or my personal favorite is attaching this guy up over here, over his right shoulder, and emulate that over the shoulder cannon look. It's something that, was kind of a staple for tank Megatrons during the Generation 2 era. The first G2 Megatron, the really big green and purple one, had cannon over his shoulder. The Combat Hero one did. So I think this is, more iconic for the character from that era. As far as the other weapon, you can do what you want with it. Make it a cannon. Me personally, just for, symmetry's sake, making it not feel kind of incomplete with only having 1 arm cannon, I just go ahead and use the standard sword configuration. And I think that looks really good. Even though this is pretty much the same toy as Siege Megatron, just making this small change really alters his silhouette, makes him feel much more distinct. Here's Siege Megatron for comparison. Robot mode is where these two really do stand apart from each other because of the deco differences, different head designs, and then, optionally different weapon configurations if you want to go that route. And, each one of these guys is just really good at being who they are. This is a battle-hardened G1 Megatron from, pre-Earth days, and he's really great at being that. This guy is this just radical 90s, over-the-top tank Megatron. Looks like he just jumped right out of like a, Fox Kids commercial after watching Tiny Toons or something. And yeah, they're both great. In all honesty, I kind of prefer the head sculpt of this guy. Yeah, it's not G1 accurate, but just as a design itself, I think his face is a little more dynamic. The helmet design is more intricate, more interesting. But that's just me. I also mentioned that club exclusive Megatron, the Pretender one. So managed to dig this guy out just to show you. This was the first Megatron toy that was actually released to the public in some capacity that, was made in reference to Combat Hero Megatron. See, their decos are quite different as far as the shades used. He's a much deeper gray color. His green is a much darker gray to the point that it almost looks black or dark gray. So these two do look very different. Most they have in common is maybe their face, which is something that's kind of important to bring up because out of coincidence, I'm assuming, this toy has a head that's also based on IDW Minor Megatron. Now the reason for this guy is because this mold was made originally to represent Megatron in that form. So it does beg the question, well, why does this bigger Megatron have that helmet design? I don't think they did it because this toy did it. I entertained the thought that maybe they were using this toy as a reference and then mistakenly gave him this head, but when you look at the actual details, they don't add up. The shapes on the helmet aren't the same. This one is much more intricate, much more accurate to the actual artwork for that Megatron. So I don't think that was the case, which leaves me looking at two possibilities for why they chose this head specifically. One, it's just an alternate head that's gang molded with the regular Megatron mold, and it's just one they included in there as like a just in case they decided to do the figure, which is a very good possibility. Most Generations molds since Combiner Wars, and really even before that, just Generations in general, most of those toys have an alternate head built in to give the designers the leeway to maybe release the toy as a different character or a different version of that character later. You see it all the time. So that could be the case. Could just be an alternate head and they decided to use it just to set this toy apart from regular Siege Megatron. Or perhaps this toy, when they were coming up with the exclusive, was meant to be IDW Megatron, and then at some point they changed their mind. So maybe they did go out of their way, design a new head, and then just decided to give him like a different deco, maybe one that's more, I don't know if I could say more recognizable, because how many people outside the fandom know that, Combat Hero Megatron was the thing? I don't know. It makes for some good speculation though. And personally, I am happy they chose the alternate head, again, to set him apart from the regular Megatron. Really hammers in the illusion that this is supposed to be like a new body or new form of Megatron. So I'm not sure why it happened, but I like it. I'm happy it did. So yeah, that is Combat Megatron. This is the first of the new Generation Select series that US fans have gotten a hold of. Possibly worldwide fans, I'm not sure. He's available through Hasbro Pulse and some other online retailers. And as the time of recording this, he still is available on the Hasbro Pulse site. He's $30, just like a regular Voyager nowadays, which is a huge improvement over, the old club exclusives, which were exceedingly expensive. Totally worth picking up if you just want a really fun toy and something that just, very loudly screams, I'm a product of the 90s. It's already a solid mold. It feels like they made some tolerance improvements overall. Made the hands a little bit tighter. They made the knee joints slightly looser, which aids in the transformation. Again, anecdotal, this is just between my two copies, but I guess we'll have to see other people's experiences to know for sure. Yeah, he comes in a pretty neat box, which is, not bad for storage. Not as good as the ones with the foam inserts, but it works. The toy has a fantastic head sculpt. I can't get over how cool this is. I just keep staring at it. It's so neat. Great callbacks to the original toy in the G2 era. And yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend it. As far as I know, the Hasbro Pulse site is still running a free shipping promotion. So if you buy this thing, sometime soon, you should be able to get it without paying for shipping, which is fantastic. and their shipping is, well, for me, it's really fast. Like, it gets to me, when it ships, it gets to me the next day. But I also do happen to live very close to where they distribute these from. All right, and that's where I'm going to end it. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at a very new, very quirky little toy. I definitely enjoyed making this review. I was super stoked when it showed up at my front porch today. If you did like the review, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more reviews like it, make sure to click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to ensure you're always notified when I make something new. I encourage everyone to leave comments down below. I love hearing feedback, either your opinions on the toys themselves, opinions on the review. I love constructive criticism. Like, don't be afraid to hurt my feelings. It's all good. But with all that said, I will see you all next time.